The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. If your relationship is in trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your soulmate become your cellmate? Does black love still exist? What are your bedroom turnoffs? Fantasies and fetishes? Financial infidelity? I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait? Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy stuff?
The child wasn't his, and he still had to pay child support.
It's a very heated topic.
How was that right?
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to ask you.
I just like to kiss it. There's something wrong with that.
Damn.
He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Betrayal has been committed.
Hit you with the bad pipes routine.
How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my nip.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do you write women so well?
Zoe Williams,
Reason and accountability.
the voice of reason.
Because they are doing it out of their flesh, they have this arrogance. Look how much I've accomplished. You know how many days I fasted? You know how many times I read the scripture? Now I went through this discipleship, I went to this school. It's their accomplishment because they did it out of their own flesh. And when they cannot perform, they feel like they're nothing.
Again, the voice of reason, hour number 2, we on fire. You already know what it is. Pastor Chung. Yes, just because you're accomplished in the world does not mean you're accomplished in the spirit. That's what he's saying. That's what Pastor Chung is saying. Listen, when you are highly educated, you have an elevated responsibility to handle people with care. Yes, we are all works in progress, even the elevated, the educated. Yes, we know, but we ask that you be patient with people who lack knowledge of self, a sense of self. We're all in relationship with each other, whether we're intimate or not. Your education does not put you in a position to berate, disrespect, dismiss, marginalize, minimize, gaslight, whatever. Doesn't put you in a position to do that. And I think it's very powerful. This topic is very powerful. Psychological bootstrapping. Man, if I don't know that I have on boots, maybe that's what the guru is for. Maybe the guru reminds you, you do know you're wearing boots. Oh, I didn't know. Right? Maybe the guru is pointing out, maybe that's the guru, the priest, the imam, whatever term, the babalao. Maybe that's their job to say, hey, you know, everything that you need is in you. Now, whose responsibility is it after that's been pointed out? It's on you, right? It is on you now to say, let me get in here and cultivate what's already in here. Let me get in here and embrace what needs to be embraced instead of going outward looking for an external embrace. Let me give myself the internal embrace. And I'm talking about embracing and enclasping the darkest aspects of yourself, the most wounded aspects of yourself. A good therapist can't heal you. Maybe that's the therapist's job, which is in alignment with the babalao, which is in alignment with the imam, which is in alignment with the pastor, the bishop. Maybe their job The guru is just to point at what you refuse to look at. You know it's there. You've spent your whole life coping with it, suppressing it, right? Because there's suppression and repression. One of them represents the unconscious burying of wounds. The other one represents the conscious burying of wounds. So maybe you come in contact with certain people that have elevated insight, whether it is Western knowledge, such as psychology, maybe it's Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, Taoism, Shinto, Hinduism. Maybe it's Western Christianity, Catholicism, right? American Christianity, Black American, whatever. I believe everybody has a gift. And maybe the gift of those people who sit in a particular seat that is supposed to be elevated understands that they are not elevated by themselves. They are elevated by the divine and by the people who seek their counsel. So there shouldn't be arrogance and condescension. However, there is. No one's feelings and experiences should be marginalized. But it happens. And some would even argue that it's par for the course for being human. Let me get back to my caller. My niece is on the line. This is her topic. Atala from Houston, Texas. Please continue the work.
Hi.
Can you talk to me about this? It's not only a psychological bootstrapping, but I guess you can also say it's emotional bootstrapping. What about emotional elitism and spiritual condescension? Is this also happening?
I mean, this is what you and I were talking about earlier when I was saying it's kind of like an emotional capacity privilege. Like there's a certain privilege in being able to hold, deal with, process certain emotions, right? And so I think that's why I say some of this is somewhat of a Trojan horse. This whole, I'm tough. Look at how tough I am. It's like when people say I'm a nice person. You ain't got to say that. You just are, right? Your toughness, your mental fortitude can be observed. I don't need to go on a press conference about that. It is there. And I think that a lot of times what people gravitate towards is more of a silent fortitude rather than that more brash in your face. Like think like Trump versus like, I don't know, Obama. No one would say that Obama is weak, but is he loud like Trump?
No.
Right. So there's a certain, I think, nobility and dignity in being a little bit more quiet about your strengths, but also being willing to put forth your weaknesses as well. And so I think that as someone who, like I said, is considered to be an intellect in certain ways, sometimes it's hard for me to process certain things that a person might be going through. It's not even all the time because I don't understand it or because like I, maybe have never gone through that. I might even gone through something similar, but it might be hard for me to process the way they are responding to it. And I have to take accountability for that before I offer any word of advice, encouragement, or anything else. And that's just the truth.
Do you think women employ emotional elitism and spiritual condescension?
Oh, here we go.
No, because men can't cry. Men don't have a space to show emotion. Men can't show weakness. Do you think women are the biggest perpetrators of emotional elitism and spiritual condescension?
Well, let's break some of that down. Men need to create their own spaces to cry. They have to make it acceptable amongst one another to show emotion, share emotion, process emotion, right? Now, on the women's side, we also, in seeing that, need to accept that this is where men have decided to go in their direction in terms of healing and evolution and welcome it. I think that we tend to become afraid of men's emotions because we are afraid of our own. The other side of that is that a lot of times when it comes to male emotion, it doesn't really come out until anger is present or rage is present, right? And so, it's almost like kind of opening a Pandora's box. And so I think that, again, like you and I talked about earlier, at some point when it comes to you dealing with the person or dating them or handling what comes with them, you either need to accept that and embrace that person or move on. And a lot of women, I think that we tend to want to make things our way or put things in a way that is more comfortable for us, and it doesn't really help him in the long run. Overall, it doesn't help the union either. So, I mean, I think it benefits us to hold space for one another, right? But you have to learn how to hold that space for yourself first. So I see what you're saying in terms of the spiritual bootstrapism being more about do for self spiritually, 100%. But I think to that therapist point, right, there's a certain point where if someone is at a lower vibration, you do need to kind of essentially like almost model it for them, like show them like, hey, you are safe. This is what you can do. And it's nothing wrong with doing that. I think we just have to, you have to be with someone who has that emotional intelligence, that knowledge of self within themselves first. Right. So I don't know. It's somewhat complex, but not.
But the reason why I'm pulling this question, because remember, just a few months ago, Shaq was on a podcast. They asked Shaq, do you reveal your feelings to women? And his response was no, because as soon as you open up and reveal how you feel, the truth of who you are, what you're about, they weaponize it against you. That's what he said. And that's his experience.
Right.
I'm not saying his experience is a blanket license for all men, but many men agreed with him. Am I right or wrong?
I'm sure they did, but my question would be, why don't you come with your real self all the time?
Regardless of how it is received, right?
That's the real, you want to talk about mental fortitude or toughness, that's the real toughness. That's the real fortitude. Can you stand in your own light at all times, regardless of who is looking? If not, right, what tools, what resources, what people can we put around you to help you do that? But until that's happening, I think any level of advice you're given is probably going to be taken in more of a victimhood mentality. That's another thing I wanted to get to. The reason why some of this rhetoric is so dangerous, like being kind of cavalier about the way we might describe certain psychological terms or having these discussions in just any old way, the reason why that's a problem is because you actually help people lean into their victimhood, not work through it. Because
so you're reinforcing what's wrong, right?
Because if I'm a manipulative mindset, even though I might have gone through some trauma, but undergirding that is manipulation. I have the ability and the know-how to manipulate. I'm like, see, look at her. She don't even care about us. You know what I'm saying? Here comes the manipulation.
Right,
I can't get right because people like that, right? So like it's a double-edged sword. It really is. It's definitely a two-of-swords situation because in the end, you want to be careful enough to reach people who can actually accept your help, right? But also be stern enough to say, hey, that victim mentality is not going to fly here either. So it's kind of a fine line. But that's all I wanted to say.
Wow. Hey, Attila. Hey, Attila. For real, though, Attila. Seriously, though.
Yeah.
For real, though, Attila, guess what you just did?
I brought HTX in the building.
You understand what I'm saying? For all those that didn't understand, Houston is in the building. If you want to bring your city in the building, all you got to do is call your brother. 1-800-920-1580. I got time. Let me get him on here. Who's been on? Nikki from the SIP. Come on, Nikki. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Brother Zoe and the fam.
Hey. What food for thought do you... Here we go.
I think about it like what happens when, we'll say, a new nurse comes into a ER or a clinic environment. And you just came out of school, so you got the hot 100. You're in an environment where there's 40 years before you got here experience. You know, the 10,000 hours given to any particular thing.
Malcolm Gladwell.
You're surrounded by,
yes.
You're surrounded by people who have spent longer than you've been on the earth doing a thing. And so oftentimes when you enter into that environment, the elders are reluctant to be patient with you because you've not spent that time yet. Now, when we say emotional intelligence or intellectual knowledge, that can come through books or experience. And because sometimes a trauma or a traumatic experience, a loss of someone important in your life, can teach you some of those emotional lessons, right? That can bring your level up to a person who may have spent the 10,000 hours in the books, but hasn't yet matured through the emotional experience. So if that is occurring, particularly as it relates to church, right, we can then come off with that superiority complex. So that coupled with, because hurry up and learn the 10 Commandments. Okay. Can you read the Beatitudes this weekend? Yeah. Okay. So it worketh the patience of those who sit in the seat of the 10,000 hours.
Which in turn is their lesson.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because when you forget sometimes, we forget sometimes, okay, that, wait a minute, that was me a few minutes ago. I was 1 day old when I learned that lesson through books or experience. And so then, particularly as it relates to the church, when we're talking about these gurus that we go and see, because we said something last night about building up preachers. Okay, I know our job, if purgatory is heaven's hospital, church is the hospital in this plane.
Ooh, wait, stay, don't go nowhere. Stay right there. Church is the hospital for this plane of existence. When we come forward, we're going back to Mississippi because Nikki is cooking up a rarefied dish.
Reasons. The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we fear, our feelings won't disappear. You're listening to the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 50 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate Day 100 since the wildfires flared up. And we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, feels so good to be back again. I've been thinking about time. I've been thinking about space. I know I might sound crazy, but I'm trying to get down in a real good space. I just want to be safe. I just want to feel good every morning, every single damn morning that I wake. I've been looking for a place where the sun shines all the time. Good loving in my soul's what I crave. I ain't worried about the hate. Last year was a good year for you, girl. I've been keeping up with the pace. So don't be coming with the bull. Had a good year, now it's time to see my face. I ain't worried about the fate. Kinda over all the hard times I've been through. Love brought me to, and I finally feel loose. My heart I choose. My heart been broke down in the dirt, and I finally see blue. Raised hands feel focused, and I'm done being broken. Talking about love, real love.
To see something, the fact that I am violent, and to let the story of violence reveal itself. It will if your mind is quiet. But don't make a problem of it. How is the brain to be quiet? Then you might just well take a drug or what you call meditation, which is an escape from life. And you have other problems in meditation, which all become so utterly stupid, meaningless. So, is it possible to look, to observe silently, without any choice, to look at your greed, envy, ambition, your arrogance? Have you noticed how many people are arrogant? Not the politician, of course, that's understood. They want power, position, prestige. Where there is power, there is evil. Absolute power is absolute evil, as has been said. Now, are you arrogant? You understand? The man who is trying to become something psychologically is arrogant. I am.
The man who is trying to become something psychologically is arrogant. It even reminds me of the scene in X when Malcolm, or as Denzel, first meets Elijah Muhammad. And, you know, they had those special scenes where Elijah is educating Malcolm. And then Malcolm begins to rise up in the organization. And I don't know if it's true or not, but the way the movie depicted it was quite interesting. When Elijah tells Malcolm, be careful of the one-eyed, the camera. Be careful of the camera. It corrupts. And we live in a social media-driven society. And in a way, social media people, figures, influencers are now celebrities. And remember what I warned on my podcast a couple weeks ago. I said, you have to remember, the celebrity is the invert of the narcissist in many cases. Why? Because they are addicted in much the same way as an SLDD, self-love deficient person. They're addicted to adulation. The narcissist, and maybe they're narcissists, because the moment they get it, they treat the people who made them like they don't matter. Made them what they are like they don't matter. Do you understand? Addicted to the roar of the crowd, addicted to the cheers, addicted to everything, and then all of a sudden they get arrogant about it. Right? Tough way to look at it. Heavy, heavy stuff. We live in a society where most people are trying to become something. They're not what they are. What do I mean by that? They're not what they are. Krishnamurti is very poignant on this point. You can never become something that you aren't already. Right? Now, you can go on a mission to try to become something that society says you should be. Society says you're supposed to behave in a particular way based on where you are. But most people are not comfortable being themselves. That's the only becoming you can do, is be yourself. Many of us are trying to become a thing, a figure, a caricature, something that is attached to what? Supply. I told you guys this before. The codependent gets supply too. The codependent gets supply from people who pour into their victimhood, right? Who pour into their codependency. No one's ever made you feel seen. No one's ever loved you. No one's ever approved of you. Well, I'm here to do it. That's supply for the codependent. And once you start feeding the codependent what the codependent wants, addiction, attachment, addiction, they want more. Do you see? And it's a toxic cycle. It makes sense for why the narcissist is attracted to the codependent. Those relationships, they're attracted to each other, and there's this cycle of supply. And I think we live in a society that creates both self-love deficient as well as narcissists. When we come forward, the voice of reason shall finish up with our sister, the one we love, Nikki from the SIP.
He's on fire tonight. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump calls today Liberation Day as he launches global tariffs, claiming it'll boost U.S. jobs. But critics warn it could raise prices, hitting black communities already facing economic pressure. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams' federal corruption case has been dismissed for good. A judge dropped the charges with prejudice, meaning they cannot be refiled. The Justice Department told prosecutors to drop the case. Black Senator Cory Booker is recovering after a record-breaking 25-hour speech protesting President Trump's policies. He spoke out against tariffs and efforts to dismantle the Department of Education, calling the nation, quote, in crisis, end quote. And Reverend Al Sharpton kicked off the National Action Network's annual convention in New York City, saying it's more needed than ever as civil rights gains are at risk. The event brings together leaders to tackle issues impacting Black Americans. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Life blooms in beautiful ways. The Afia Center invites you to celebrate At the End with Red Gala, honoring the strength and resilience of Black women living with HIV. Join us for an evening of empowerment as we launch the Barbara Cambridge Scholarship and kick off Herstory Month with our theme, Life in Full Bloom. Your support helps create vital HIV programming and builds a future where every voice is heard and every story matters. The End with Red Gala, because every flower deserves to bloom. To learn more and to donate, visit theafiacenter.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk Radio. The puts music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
So the average person doesn't know, should I get in a relationship? Should I wait? Should I leave the relationship? Should I stay? Should I buy the house? Should I go back to school? Should I save more money? Should I invest in Bitcoin? They have so much resistance to making their own decision making. They don't trust their reality. They don't trust their decision making. They don't trust themselves. And we don't demean, diminish, disregard, or dismiss people because we have it all figured out. We have to really meet them where they were. And in the podcast, the therapist said that she has the capacity to meet people where they are. Well, then if that's the case, then you wouldn't use the terminology that gaslighting is normal. Because there's some people that's really been gaslit, that have been in abusive situations and believe that the abuse is now their fault because that's what the gaslighter said. They believe that being molested was their fault because that's what the gaslighter said. They believe being raped was their fault because that's what the gaslighter said. They believe being punched in the mouth by their parents was their fault because they should have stopped talking. That's what the gaslighter said. In what world is that behavior ever going to be normal? Yes, it happens on a daily basis. And yes, it's something that we're going to have to learn how to maneuver and work through on a daily basis because the behavior has been a part of people's regular daily lives and daily behaviors. But that don't mean that that shit is normal. And it doesn't mean that the...
Yo, she was on fire. She was cooking. Let me get Nikki from the SIP back in the building because she was saying something that was very powerful. She said something about the church being this hospital space. Talk to me, Nikki.
Well, I would just ask that we would remember when I say church, mosque, synagogue, choose. Mm-hmm. That is supposed to be the place that you go to get healed, helped, so that you can continue your matriculation. Okay? Mm-hmm. So when we were saying last night about building up or edifying the I'll say priest because that's how I roll. Mm-hmm. No, that's not my role. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to build up the priest. he or she is supposed to get that from God, because that's a mantle that they have. That's why they sit in that seat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we're going to the hospital and we think that that's a part of why we're supposed to be there, then we need to get some correctness so we understand right relationship, which would reduce the superiority complex. It would all but eliminate the abuse and misuse we were talking about relative to church last night, because you would go into it understanding right relationship.
Makes sense.
See, we can't have the expectation that I'm going to the hospital to get some help, but then at the same time, I am saying, well, this person who is a whip over here is without any need of going to the hospital himself or herself.
Right. So let me ask you this question, because the hospital metaphor, let's stick with that, because that's a really good one. If you tear your ACL, or if you break your arm, you got to go to the hospital.
Yep.
Or if you have to undergo surgery, you got to go to the hospital, right? And wherever there's surgery, there's going to be some type of physical therapy afterwards, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I think the distinction here is this. We have to distinguish between tough love and being arrogant, condescending, and dismissive, right? So getting surgery and then the ensuing physical therapy, this isn't easy work.
The therapists, those are terrorists. That's worse than the surgery.
That's what I was about to give the story. My son had the ACL surgery in his junior year in high school. The day after surgery, we visit the physical therapist, and the guy says, "All right, take off the brace. You're walking today."
That's right.
What? I had surgery yesterday. No, we're walking today. So maybe the sister, Raquel Hopkins, was trying to come from the physical therapist standpoint of this is tough love by saying this. Maybe she misspoke. Maybe the metaphor wasn't a good metaphor. Maybe the selection of words weren't good, but maybe that was the intent. What are your thoughts?
Perhaps. But keep in mind with your therapist, I'm going to stay in your vein. The therapist, back to the 10,000 hours, he or she knows, because particularly on their first visit, they are using their gift or mantle to assess what type of patient they have before them.
Ooh, okay.
Because I need to know, how far am I going to be able to push, press, encourage, put my arms around the patient? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, no, 100%, yes.
I can tell by your response, sick person, what is going to be required of me to get you where you want to go.
Wait, Nikki, this is so big. You're taking me somewhere with this. This reminds me of what a good coach is.
What again?
Right?
The church is a healing health place. It's what its purpose is to be.
Right.
So when we go in there sick, sins, carrying stuff, I got a backache, but that ain't where it lives. Okay, the priest, preacher, whomever, imam, because of the mantle they have, not higher in the sense that above me, but where they are in the spiritual place, that's why I go to the priest first, they can see now because they are assessing me. That's why that relationship is so important.
Right.
Because they can see and assess where I'm going to go with this sick person, physical or spiritual, and where I'm going to press, push, shelter, love, tough love them to get them where they need to go.
Right.
And see that in that place, that's the same place I was talking about going into the room with the 10,000 hours of the hot new nurse.
Right.
See, that mantle that we're talking about with the PT person is the same mantle that the preacher, the imam, the priest, okay. See, they've done that. That's their gift. So when they see you, because you spend time with them, right? Then that relationship push-pull gives them the ability to see how long it's going to take you with them to move from the place you are right now to the next level.
I love it. Nikki from the SIP, guess what you just did?
I brought the SIP in the building.
That's all she did. She brought Mississippi in the building. Y'all be safe out there. I know the weather is bad. Y'all be safe. When I come forward, we going to the Big Island. Let's keep it cooking.
Is it good to you? More Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams when we come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cordially invite you out to the Comedy Connection series, where comedy meets connection. You're gonna laugh, but you're also gonna learn. The long-awaited collaboration where comedy collides with connection. It's your brother Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, KBLA's own. I'm teaming up with my friend, the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're gonna host this comedic relationship roundtable series live at Inglewood's iconic Miracle Theater. May 31st, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't wait around. Get your tickets now. Join top comedians Ron G. and Kevin Tate, along with clinicians Dr. P. Pacoya McCall Robinson, along with my friend Christopher Johnson, PhD. Trust me, this is something you don't want to miss. It's unique, it's funny, and it's insightful. Think therapy meets punchlines. Tickets are selling faster than a bad first date. You better grab yours now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
The Eaton Canyon fire devastated many black families in Altadena, taking more than just homes. It took memories, legacies, and generational wealth. The heart of a black community is now in jeopardy, but Justice Coalition, led by Gage and King LA Lawyers for the People, are here to help. If you've lost your home, we are standing by to hold insurance companies and utilities accountable for the damage caused. When the community suffers, we all suffer. Together, we can rebuild what was lost. Your recovery starts today. Call 626-429-1259. That's 626-429-1259. Or visit www.eatonfirelawyers.net. Justice Coalition, Gage and King, LA Lawyers for the People. We got you. Call 626-429-1259. Visit www.eatonfirelawyers.net. Again, 626-429-1259. This is attorney advertising. Past results do not guarantee future outcomes. Legal representation is provided by licensed attorneys. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
You know you want some more. It's the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Smoke different cigarettes. I got a new address. I'm waiting on
back to the arrogance issue, is that, you know, I'm so what would you say, attuned to the fact that I'm barely staying on that line between chaos and order, and that any foolishness on my part or any attempt to manipulate the situation for my own, let's say, selfish personal gain, you know, that sort of impulsive and shallow and immature and short-sighted personal gain, that willingness or wish to lord it over other people or to feel in some sense superior, man, if I go there with the exposure that I've got right now, I'd be sunk.
What's interesting about spirituality is once you raise in consciousness, you begin to see the inherent oneness of all things. So regardless of your positionality within a particular society, you recognize that the rich man and the poor man are one and the same when we're speaking from a spiritual context. Education does not make you better. Knowledge does not make you better. The lack of knowledge does not make you worse. But we do live in a society that is fractured along those lines. It's almost like a civil war, psychological civil war. Let me get my final caller in here. John, Mountain View, Hawaii. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Greetings and blessings, chat, and blessings to the show and the wonderful words that's been already exposed.
Man.
Wow.
Come on, John. You already know you Pastor John, brother. We waiting on you.
Well, no, please don't. I'm tired. I'm actually really physically tired. But at the same time, this is too good a word to pass up on. I remind y'all of the statement I said yesterday. Life is like a dance. In order to keep in step, you got to let the music play. Who are you dancing with tonight?
Come on. I hear you, brother.
Well, the rhythm of life is still going on. Misstepped or not, you're still in the dance. Whatever relationship it is, your workplace, your church, your home, the hospital, your choices in life, whether you made them today or you excused them for tomorrow, you're still in the dance. Right. And the only reason I call it a dance is because I'm still giving you the invitation to come on. And I'm not saying that as if I'm God, but that is exactly what he said to you. Greater work shall you do.
Come on. I hear you.
And if you're avoiding the dance or the dance partner, why?
Wow. I love it, brother.
So don't allude to it. Get with it. It's still a part of your life. This dance is not going anywhere, even for you. Even if you avoid it, it's still there.
Man,
get after it.
I love you, brother. I appreciate you. You already know what you just did, right?
Love you too, big bro. Mountain View's in the house, and I'm going to bed right now.
Man, get some rest, brother. I appreciate you, man. We on complete fire tonight. Can Maslow's hierarchy mutate into a caste system where self-actualized individuals epigenetically suppress OXTR genes, according to Bruce Lipton's work, to justify dismissing their less evolved peers? Just because we grow spiritually does not mean we are in a position to judge. The higher you go spiritually in consciousness, the less judgmental you should become. But this is why in Dr. David R. Hawking's work on the consciousness grid, you get intelligence or intellect vibrating at 400 out of 1,000. He says, at 400, you get Einstein, you get Newton, you get all of these guys. Very intelligent, right? But what plagues most scientists? Most of them are atheists. Not to say all of them, but most of them. They lack the spiritual component. But as you raise in consciousness, you begin to see the undifferentiated source of all existence in everything. So it makes sense that an academician, that a clinician, that a therapist or somebody like that may have somewhat of a disconnect. I don't necessarily think the system meant any harm. What I'm saying is, when you raise to such a high level, say her vibration is at 450, 425, 400, that's the intellectual vibration. You cannot discard the emotion, right? The spirit. You cannot discard that, because that's what's going to keep you non-judgmental. That's what's going to say, hey, I'm here to mirror what got me here to this person who may not know that they can get where I am. I'm here to lessen the distance between us two. Does that make sense? Lessen the distance. Does the dark night of the soul, St. John of the Cross, paradoxically become spiritual narcissism when used to shame others' emotional immaturity? Listen, we live in a toxically soft society. Everybody wants to be soft. Everybody wants to be comfortable. Everybody wants to be at peace. Everybody wants to be at ease. And it's okay to give a little tough love. It's okay to give a little nudge. Nah, you're not quitting on me today. It's okay. But can you do it without condescension? Can you do it without being dismissive? Can you do it without marginalizing? That is handling people with care. Listen, I start the conversations. It's what I do. I'm going to keep talking about things that matter. Most people have never contextualized relationship conversations like this. And I'm going to keep doing it because I want you to see the unfolding, enfolding nuance to it. This is how we get better. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I'm Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. Hey, tomorrow is my Friday. You already know what it is. I holla at you, deuces.